time is yours.
Thank you very much, Senator Buxton. Thank you so much for all that you're doing on this issue. And now, we know that Gina McCarthy does not run the world or run America, because if she did, she would not have to sit here for 2.5 hours, right? I just want to make a few points and then give the mic over to Senator Whitehouse if he'd like it. Just 2 points, and I'm sorry my Republican colleagues are not here. I understand that when I was not here, there was some argument, I think by the senator from Wyoming, about how wealthy liberals have coerced you into moving forward in this direction. And I find that is really remarkable that my Republican colleagues would dare to raise the issue of campaign finance and the amount of money folks are putting into the political process. So let me just recite a few facts for the record. According to the Center for Responsive Politics, in 2013, the oil, gas, and coal industries invested at least $170 million in lobbying the federal government. According to the Center for Responsive Politics, in the 2012 election cycle, these same industries spent more than $93 million in recorded campaign contributions, an enormous number which is itself dwarfed by the amount of money invested in dark money super PAC spending. And then we go to another level. It really is hard for me to understand these guys would raise this issue. We have the Koch brothers, who are today as a family worth $80 billion, who have spent hundreds of millions of dollars on political campaigns and setting up think tanks, and in fact are doing that in this election as well. According to the Washington Post and the Center for Responsive Politics, the Koch brothers, and where does the Koch brothers get their money? They are a fossil fuel industry. And they have invested $407 million, according to the Washington Post, supporting conservative, fossil-friendly candidates in the 2012 election. So is there money coming into the political process from wealthy liberals? The answer is yes. But that money is clearly dwarfed by the amount of money coming in from the fossil fuel industry. I would also add that I do find it remarkable that some of my Republican colleagues in this debate have expressed their deep concern about the needs of low-income people and the elderly. And I would remind the people of this country that these are the same folks whose compassion and love of low-income people prevents them from working to raise the minimum wage so people can have a living wage, allows them to make massive cuts in the LIHEAP program, which provides fuel assistance to low-income people. Many of them are on record as making massive cuts in Medicaid, Medicare, trying to end Social Security, privatize Social Security. So I think that their concerns today about the needs of low-income people might be held up to some question. Senator Whitehouse, did you want to add anything to that?
One last question for the administrator. I take the position that the costs of this regulation are dwarfed by the benefits, and I think that is EPA's judgment as well. I also take the position that it's not fair for people to only look at one side of the ledger in evaluating this legislation. They can't just look at the interests of the coal businesses. They really need to look at America more broadly, and there are lots of us who are on the other side of that equation for whom coal really is a harm. And we can work in rational ways to try to balance that, but please don't pretend that my side doesn't exist. The third is that there is legitimate concern, and then there is concern that is for rhetorical purposes. And there's probably a little bit of a blend between the two. But if we look at the history that EPA has seen of industry reaction to proposed environmental regulations, all four Republican former EPA administrators who testified in those very seats, Ms. McCarthy, indicated that over and over, the industry concerns were exaggerated. They did not prove true in the actual fact, whether that was because they were exaggerated for rhetorical purposes at the beginning, or whether that was because innovation was brought to bear to reduce cost. Both can be true. But let me ask you, you've been in this business for a long time, at the state level as well as at the federal level. You have worked for Republican governors before. What is your view on what the track record has been of industry projections and warnings about the costs and consequences of environmental regulation by EPA?
It has, history tells us that they always exaggerate the costs. They always project environmental benefits as somehow being contrary to economic growth and goals. And it just simply hasn't come true. It never. And so I think one of the points that we haven't talked about a little bit, Senator, that you hit on is one of the great benefits of looking at setting a course for climate change that is long-term and flexible, is that what we're actually sending is a tremendous investment signal in what the United States values and cares about. It will unleash innovation and investment money. This is not about a scrubber at the end of a pipe or a smokestack. This is really about investing in things people care about, investing in things that people will make money on. One of the great things, frankly, about regulating is seeing how the regulated community grumbles during the process, but in the end figures out how to make money the great old American way. And you'll see this. This proposal is designed to be moderate in its ask, based on what's practical and affordable. But the vision behind it, the direction that it's going to take, I think we will get significantly more benefit than we are requiring, because we're asking for the things that the American public actually wants to spend money on. Less waste, cleaner energy, jobs, economic growth. That's what this is all about. And as you can tell, I'm pretty proud of it as a proposal. I know we'll listen to folks, but in the end, this is going to be something I'm hoping we'll all be proud of.
If I could pick up on Senator Winehouse's question, Administrator McCarthy, what I hear you saying is that you believe the United States could be a leader in the world in new technologies, which help us reduce greenhouse gas emissions, and in the process see significant economic development.
That's correct.
All right. I will tell you, just in one area in Vermont, we have put some money, federal money, into weatherization. You know what we've done? We've reduced fuel bills for people, lower income people, cutting their fuel bills by, I think, 32%, cut greenhouse gas emissions. You know what else we've done? We've created jobs in the area. And I suspect your point is that once industry gets moving in terms of sustainable energies, et cetera, we can be a leader in providing the technologies not only in the United States but all over the world, and in the process getting worldwide companies moving as well. Is that kind of what you're saying?
That's what I meant to say.
All right.
Yes.
You said it better than I did. All right. My very last question, and I'll give it back to Senator Winehouse. Again, the issue of money in politics has been raised at this hearing with the suggestion that environmental folks are pouring huge sums of money in, and I would argue that their money is being dwarfed by the industry. Do you have any thoughts on that? By the amounts of money we're seeing in lobbying? I know campaign contributions is not your issue, but in lobbying that comes from the big energy companies.
Senator, let me just hit the issue directly, because I know it had to do with a New York Times article, which has been given surprising credibility. But I think I know how hard the great staff at EPA worked to design this rule, basically from whole cloth, listening to states and utilities and energy regulators and environmental regulators and stakeholders from all walks of life. I am extraordinarily proud of the work they put into it. I know they didn't sleep for virtually any night, well, for months. We worked weekends. I can tell you I had 2 hours of meetings on this rule alone every week for the past I don't know how many months. And I think it's a discredit to them to suggest that somehow this was designed miraculously by one group many months ago, and we just had it in our pocket ready to unveil. This was a result of hard work, a result of lots of listening, and a result of more than 40 years of history in that agency of getting the science right, understanding the law, and doing the work we need to do. And that's what this is all about.
Senator Whitehouse, the last question.
And the result of a process